Welcome back to A1 Storyteller, the home of powerful stories where justice hits back harder than it's hit. Today's story isn't just about a schoolgirl. It's about what happens when law enforcement crosses a line they never should have, and the man who makes sure they never forget it. So sit tight, because this one is going to rattle your soul and restore your faith in what real strength looks like. 12-year-old Ayanna Walker was just like any other honor roll student. A quiet girl, always early to school, always late to speak. Her dark brown curls were neatly braided, her backpack always zipped, and her eyes focused on the future. She didn't have time for drama, only dreams. She lived in a predominantly white neighborhood in Hillsdale, a small, sleepy town that prided itself on its tight-knit community, which was code for, "We notice when someone doesn't look like us." Ayanna had taken the same shortcut home from school every day, down the block, past the park, and through the back alley by the hardware store. Her parents, especially her mother, warned her about staying alert, but they never imagined she'd need more than common sense. Until today. As she walked through the alley with her headphones in, a blinding flash of red and blue lights stopped her in her tracks. A police cruiser screeched to a halt in front of her. Another one pulled in behind. Two officers stepped out. One tall, with a buzz cut and mirrored sunglasses, the other stockier, chewing gum like he was bored of breathing. "Hey, what are you doing back here?" Officer 1 barked. Ayanna paused, confused. "Just walking home." "Where's home?" the second one challenged. "On Sheridan Avenue." "You got ID?" She blinked. "I'm 12. They exchanged looks like that answer was suspicious. "You sure about that?" Ayanna's heart raced. "Yes, sir." They motioned her toward the car. "Come over here. We got a report of some suspicious activity in the area." "I didn't do anything." "Then you've got nothing to worry about." But Ayanna had plenty to worry about. She was alone, they were armed, and they weren't listening. They made her sit on the curb. One officer started asking where she was coming from. The other radioed in her description. "She's wearing a red hoodie, maybe matches the suspect." "What suspect?" Ayanna asked, trembling. "Don't worry about that." Tears welled in her eyes. She reached for her phone. "Whoa, what are you doing?" one of the officers snapped. I want to call my dad." They hesitated, then scoffed. "Go ahead." She dialed the number with shaking fingers. On the third ring, the line picked up. "Hey, baby girl, everything okay?" "Daddy," her voice cracked. "They stopped me, 2 police officers. They said I looked like someone suspicious." Dead silence. "Where are you?" Ayanna gave the location. "I'm coming right now. Stay calm. Don't move." "I've got you." The line went dead. The officers laughed. "Daddy's coming, huh? Maybe next time you won't be so suspicious walking around alleys." They had no idea. 15 minutes later, a matte, thick SUV pulled up like it belonged in a presidential convoy. The doors opened. Commander Marcus Walker stepped out. He was 6'3", built like a tank carved from granite, wearing black tactical boots, jeans, and a military tee that clung to his muscles like paint. His Navy SEAL trident glinted around his neck. He walked straight toward the officers with the calm intensity of a man trained not to raise his voice, because his presence did enough damage. "Are you the ones harassing my daughter?" The younger cop stepped forward. "Sir, we were just..." "I wasn't talking to you, I asked a question." Silence. "I served this country in Iraq, Afghanistan, and 5 covert operations you'll never read about because they're classified. But what I'm looking at right now, this is what disgusts me." He turned to Ayanna, knelt down and wiped a tear from her cheek. "You okay, baby?" She nodded, sobbing into his chest. She stood up and looked at the officers. "She's 12, she did nothing wrong, and you're detaining her on what? Her skin color, a red hoodie?" They had nothing to say. "Good, then hear this. This is not over." It didn't take long for the video to surface. A teenage girl named Malia, who lived nearby, had been walking her dog when she saw what was happening. She stood across the street, hidden behind a fence, and recorded the entire interaction. The footage captured not only the officers detaining Ayanna, but also Commander Marcus Walker's arrival, his thunderous presence, and his scathing words that silenced both officers cold. Malia uploaded the video to TikTok with the caption, "When you harass a black schoolgirl and her dad shows up, and he's a Navy SEAL," the video exploded. Within 4 hours it had 1.2 million views. Within 10 hours the hashtag Justice for Ayanna trended on Twitter, and by the next morning national news outlets had picked it up. Comments flooded in. "How many times do we have to see this? Thank God her dad showed up. Imagine if he didn't. This man's composure, that's discipline. That's what strength looks like. 12 years old and treated like a threat. This is why we march." Ayanna's face, teary-eyed, innocent, brave, was now on screens all over America. But this wasn't the kind of attention the Hillsdale Police Department wanted. That morning, the department's phone lines were overwhelmed. The chief of police, Raymond Snyder, had to cancel his weekly golf game and rush to damage control. By noon, he issued a brief statement. "The Hillsdale Police Department is aware of the incident involving officers and a minor. We are conducting an internal investigation and will ensure appropriate actions are taken." But the people weren't satisfied with internal investigations. They wanted answers. They wanted accountability, and Marcus Walker wanted change. Back at home, Marcus sat at the kitchen table, phone vibrating non-stop. Reporters, military buddies, civil rights groups, parents from Ayanna's school, even the mayor had called, twice. But Marcus wasn't chasing headlines. He was protecting his daughter. Ayanna sat on the couch, legs curled under her, silently scrolling through social media. Her name was everywhere. Her story was being told by others, but she hadn't said a word yet. "Do you want to speak out?" Marcus asked gently. "I don't know," she whispered. "I don't want people to think I'm weak." He knelt beside her. "You're not weak. You're the strongest person I know. Speaking your truth isn't weakness, it's power. But this is your choice, baby, not theirs." That evening, Marcus accepted an invitation to speak at a community town hall. The auditorium was packed, not just with black families, but white, Latino, Asian. The whole town showed up. When he walked on stage, the room fell into a hush. He didn't yell, he didn't blame. He just spoke with the quiet force of a man who'd seen war and was more shaken by what had happened to his child than anything he faced overseas. "I've led men into enemy fire. I've faced ambushes, snipers, and chaos. But nothing prepared me for watching two men with badges treat my daughter like a threat simply for walking home from school. This isn't just about Ayanna. This is about every child who's been treated like a criminal before they ever made a mistake. And if you think this ends with a viral video, you're wrong. This is where it starts." The crowd erupted in applause. Some stood, some cried. By the next morning, Marcus Walker's speech was everywhere. 2 days later, the Hillsdale Police Department placed both officers on administrative leave pending investigation. But Marcus wasn't satisfied with temporary punishment. He demanded systemic change. So, he proposed something no one expected. He called it Project Recalibrate, a partnership between veterans, community leaders, and police departments aimed at resetting how officers see and treat black youth. He outlined 3 goals: mandatory de-escalation and racial sensitivity training for all officers, using real scenarios, community accountability boards with rotating civilian oversight, youth police engagement programs where officers spent time mentoring students instead of profiling them. He didn't just demand it, he offered to help lead it. Some police officers pushed back, but public pressure was intense. The mayor, facing a potential re-election crisis, backed the proposal. The pilot program launched in Hillsdale that summer. It changed everything. Officers were trained by military veterans, including Marcus himself. They were shown footage from past incidents and asked to examine their biases. They met with local kids, shared meals, played basketball. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. And Ayanna, she found her voice. 6 months later, Ayanna stood on a stage at her school's Black History Month assembly. She held the mic tightly, her voice trembling at first but gaining strength with each word. "I used to think I was invisible. Then I learned that being seen can be scary, especially when people only see what they're afraid of, not who you are. But I also learned that sometimes the people you love will show up for you so powerfully the whole world has to listen." The auditorium gave her a standing ovation. She wrote an essay titled, "What My Father Taught Me About Courage," and it was published in a local paper. A national teen magazine reached out to feature her in their next issue. Commander Marcus Walker, the battle-hardened Navy SEAL, watched his daughter become something even more powerful than he could ever be on the battlefield. A voice for change. Hillsdale was different now. The police department held monthly town halls. More Black and brown students applied for the Hillsdale Youth Leadership Program than ever before. Ayanna still walked the same path home from school, but now heads turned, not in suspicion but in respect. They thought she was just a little girl in a hoodie. They thought her silence meant fear. They thought her tears meant weakness. But what they didn't know is that she was the daughter of a Navy SEAL, a man trained in war, forged in fire, and powered by love. A man who didn't need to raise a fist because his presence alone shook the ground beneath them. This wasn't just about a girl being harassed. This was about a system being held accountable, about a father showing the world that Black fathers protect, uplift, and lead, and about a young Black girl finding her voice and changing her town forever. So to the officers who underestimated her, consider this your final lesson. Never mistake quiet for powerless. Never mistake a child for a threat, and never come for someone you don't understand, because they might just have the kind of backup you can't handle. Thank you for watching A1 Storyteller, where the truth speaks, the people rise, and justice isn't just a word, it's a warning. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe for more powerful stories, and share this video with someone who needs to remember you are not alone. Your voice matters, and sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one who's been quiet too long. Until next time, stay strong, stay sharp, and stay woke.